so that I can just start yabbering away. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar tonight, Friday nights. I'm so glad to have you guys with me. And thank you for taking this time to actually making this commitment to yourself for learning about this. This is really cool stuff. This is all of my knowledge as a massage therapist of 25 years. And the things that I would treat in people, and as I would go through their bodies, I noticed that I would kind of go around to their bodies and I would touch their feet and I would kind of just, sort of talk to them a little bit, just kind of get my sense of, hey, Nikki, so nice to see you. Welcome. I'm just getting started. You have perfect timing, perfect timing. I was just saying I'm drumming up all of my stuff in my brain from massaging for so many years and helping people in that realm. And I've made this little course for coaches and therapists and light workers and stuff that they can learn to sort of use the recode and learn to use meditation and energy clearing vocally, so that they don't have to work so hard physically, and hopefully, sort of even retire into a coaching business, right? So they know how to kind of do that, have the basis. And this is one of the sort of topics that I had written, and I was really inspired to just kind of do a little webinar. So I'm not reading my course, but what I am doing is just giving you guys a really great sort of brain dump according to what's in here. I learned a lot from Caroline Mace. She's a medical intuitive. Absolutely incredible. I've learned a lot from just energy work over the years, all the different courses I've taken, all the Reiki courses I took, all sorts of stuff. And as you guys know, even with theta healing, when we go into that state where we're talking to superconscious, we're kind of in theta healing state, right? Like our body is allowing us to listen. And I'm really excited to kind of let our bodies listen to what they're saying today. And when we start looking at the body, I'm going to dive right in. We're going to go to the feet, because there's an energy center around the feet, a chakra per se, around the feet and the knees. And I didn't even know about the knee chakra till about 6 or 7 years ago. And now that I've sort of explored it a little bit more, I understand the feet are what plants us to the earth, what grounds us, what is our path in life. So when you look at your feet, if a person has their feet sort of turned in a little bit more, they may avoid seeing things head on. If they have, if they pronate, so they're kind of like, on the outside or inside of their feet, they might be interdependent or outer dependent. They may have things trapped in their feet just from the body. So when we look at reflexology, the heel is like the hips and the pelvis. As we move up in the foot, it's, the guts are sort of in the middle, right? All the organs, and then the lungs are kind of under the ball of the foot, and then the sinuses and the head and all the eyes and everything are all in the toes. So the foot is almost like a map. And when you look at energy centers on the foot, it goes the same root to crown, basically, right? So it's the most luxurious thing you can do for yourself, the most biggest thing of self-love you can do is massage your own feet. If there's any way you can reach them, rub them, because they love that, where you can actually, and it feels so good to actually, even if you go for a pedicure, just a reflexology treatment or so, it's just so amazing. And it allows your body to kind of release in so many ways. So the feet are like kind of like the windows to the soul, they say, right? So like they really are. They tell a lot about you. Even if you look at each toe, if the little toes are pinched, we often keep secrets. If the big toes are bunions, we often hold on to too much, have had too much on our plate and don't feel understood. Like there's all sorts of things that kind of come around with that. So when we look at foot problems, we look at what's our life path? Where are we going, right? And sometimes people don't sort of associate that, but their feet will get so swollen that they can't move on. When we look at the body, it's generally left and right, right? So the left is often the yang, where we have the female energy, we have the being more than the doing, the emotion. So think of shoulders. Left side is more like grief and pain. Right side is more like your masculine sort of takes over, and you just go at things like, you're just going to shoulder it, you're just going to go, you're just going to tuck and roll. That's so the woman that does everything, or the man that does everything, has to hold up the whole family, like just has the whole, like, they end up just being the caregiver for everybody, usually that right shoulder. So it's masculine versus feminine. So when you think, if it's left foot, it's probably, not, so maybe not taking care of yourself well enough, or there's all sorts of things that kind of get into the feet themselves. So when we're talking about knees, there's this huge energy chakra. It's actually likened to be as big as the solar plexus, and it's kind of interesting when you look at your knees, because when you actually look at them, you'll have your kneecaps will be pointed different ways, and you'll see, like, one will sort of point out on one side, one will sort of point out on the other side. Sometimes it'll be up too high, a lot higher than the other one, and that says a lot too. If you were actually to feel your knees, I want you guys to do this for just a moment, just because you can feel, and I know the left hand's going to allow you to feel a little bit more in the knees. So if you need to, you can take your left hand and put it on one and then the other. But you can, I think you guys are probably all intuitive enough to literally just take your hands and put them on your knees. And just close your eyes and take a deep breath and sort of ask your knees, what they're kind of trying to say to you about your general balance in life, and how how focused your awareness is. Maybe it's kind of like that bridge between the physical and the spiritual sort of reality, where your path is really kind of getting lined up for you. Did your knees say anything to you right away? How about you, Nikki?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a pretty cool experience. I've never done this, so I actually am very intrigued with the knees, because I had also knee up. So yeah,
Oh, interesting.
yeah.
It's
So
interesting that I was looking at you. Yeah.
yeah, the meniscus had to be cut out. So yeah, it just felt right now, it felt really good.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Excellent.
really good.
It's really connected to the head centers as well with the knees. So there can be a lot going on. Like, it's one of the,
Yeah.
actually probably the busiest energy center that we have.
Wow.
It's because it's so used all the time, right? Like, our knees don't get much of a break, even when we're sitting. You can get that stiffness and stuff when you stand up. It feels like they're very, very stiff.
Yeah, great.
Um, and then you can sort of listen. Did anybody else get a message from their knees? Did anybody have their knees kind of say something to them in particular? Feel free to just hop on and share. We're going to do it a little bit more later. I just wanted you to feel with your hands, because I'll end up just having you do it with your hearts later, so it'll be kind of neat. But what it does, the knees, they tell us a lot about our physical path. So the actual physical path that we're on, once we get up to more of the higher, like, headaches, that's more about kind of like, getting into more of the spiritual, connecting to the divine, questioning things. But the feet and the knees are really sort of like the grounding ones, right? So it's a lot about kind of where you're going. And so if the feet and the knees are bugging you, there can be question, especially in your head sometimes, of where you may be going. It's not that you may not know, but every day, if we kind of ask ourselves that, and sort of make sure that we're on the right path, or on the path that we intend to be, the feet and the knees can be the ones that like to kind of hold your attention, per se. So I want us to go a little bit higher. We're going to start going into the hips and the pelvis, because the knees are really interesting. As we get into the pelvis, we we tend to hold things from our family, from our generational stuff. That is something that it's our roots, right? It's our root. It's what we sort of grew up learning and knowing, those old stories, our family relationships, all those kind of things. And the things that we're going to sort of have issues with are abandonment issues. Like um, when we talk about, maybe being afraid to go ahead and do something, it all ends up coming back to abandonment sometimes, because we don't want to be judged. We don't want to be abandoned. We don't want to be, so we almost stop ourselves from going ahead and doing something like that. So if we have problems sort of in the base of the spine, in the legs, in the feet and knees, in the even in the rectum, like colon cancer, immune system, things like any kind of sort of outer ridge kind of hip and pelvis sort of thing, structural hip and pelvis issues. So if people are going for lots of treatment on the hip and it's just not getting better and it starts to get arthritic and that kind of stuff, we know that a lot of times there's stuff kind of energetically in that sort of center that can actually be cleared. When you see it's way open with that energy center, you're going to have like OCD and addictions happening. You're going to have like multiple personality disorders. You're going to have immune disorders. You're going to have chronic low back pain. You're going to have sciatica. You're going to have varicose veins. You're going to have indications that blood is not pumping to the legs and the knees and everything. If some of those things are sort of out of balance, if it's just sort of way over the top, and the pain in there is real. Like, this is the thing, people think, oh, it's all in your head, or it's not. This is real pain. Is this area vulnerable because you've had certain traumas, you've had rapes, you've had things that have happened, you've had when your boundaries have been pushed so hard you haven't been able to really heal from that. There's that stuff and it goes somewhere, right? But is that causing the pain? No, it's just settling in that area because it was vulnerable. It wasn't holding, it wasn't holding that strong vibration. It got some vibrations off, like getting too many x-rays. But we can sort of go back by literally, there's nothing easier to balance than energy, because we can just do it with our minds. It's absolutely incredible, right? So this is when we're talking about that root chakra. When we go up a little bit higher and we kind of get into that sacral, that low back, that across the low back that starts to ache when you're doing dishes too long, or your SI joint, they call it, or your back goes out. This back will go out often because it's been triggered by an emotion. Does that make sense to you guys? When you are, when for me, for my only time I really threw my back out, I was triggered. I was like, I was late, I was running around, I was grabbing too much stuff. And I remember grabbing this bag and twisting, and it wasn't even a heavy bag. And in my experience, every single person that came into me for a back thrown out didn't do a thing. They picked up a piece of paper, they pulled a dish out of the cupboard, they sneezed, they laughed, they went to the bathroom, they got out of bed. They're like, is this what getting old is? And it's like, no, that's okay. So that's financial stuff. When the low back goes out of whack like that, that's loss of power. That's when we've given something our power. That's when we've allowed our power to be taken away in one way or the other, by someone, by ourselves, giving it away. So forgiveness sits really down there. Unfinished business sits down there. We all kind of have that, that security feeling, needing to sort of feel like you belong, like you're at home. That's the belief that kind of sits in that low back. So that, when you're struggling with that, or when you're faced with hardships financially, that's going to be in the low back. And I'll tell you, most of the guys that I've worked on that have low backs thrown out at a very young age, between 6 and 10, were left by their fathers, and they took over that paternal role, taking care of their family. And there's almost no male person that I've worked on that hasn't thrown out their back, that has that history. And I only know that from just, so they, never having a sense of home. So when you don't have that, you don't have that integral energy structure in your low back. And so it's vulnerable. And so that's where it's going to go, and if it's more, say, as we get up into the solar plexus, into a little bit higher, into that sort of that big energy center, that's when it's not so much our power's been taken away, but we have boundary stuff that goes on like crazy. We want to be good enough. We want to, feel needed. We don't want to be abandoned. We want to sort of help everybody. And this stops a lot of people with their solar plexus stuff because they just give too much until they're completely drained. And so this is when we have gut issues. This is when we have IBS. This is when we have, I don't know if you guys have ever had the experience where you've bent over to, say, tie your shoe or something, or even just turned in bed and you've gotten a stitch where it just like you feel it just go hurt, or even in your leg. And all of a sudden you just have to like, you have to push it or touch it, or like you just need pressure on it to release it. If you've felt this, that is fascia pain. And fascia is like this material that goes all around your body and all around your organs and all around your muscles, and it keeps everything in like this nice sort of lubricated fashion. It just all moves how it should underneath your skin. And so when you see lots of dimpling under the skin, or you can see those traumas under the skin, or on the calves, on the shins, it gets really tight, and you can see the lack of blood. That's literally because that energy sort of gets blocked in that fascia. And it looks almost like if you were to rip apart a chicken breast, you can see there's little white, almost cotton ball-y type things that are in there. When I'm working on someone, I'm letting my fingers just melt out those little cottony ball things. It's fascia windings. And those happen every time our body is stressed. So when we experience a stress, welcome, Chris. When we experience a stress, we end up feeling it in our bodies. Think about when something happens, you go, right? Right away. And that's in from your diaphragm, and it twists and it twists and it twists. And so when I used to be able to do autopsies, when we were in the lab all the time in massage therapy school, it was really cool. We got to go look at the cadavers, and I would just feel the fascia, and like you could just unwind it because of all that. Every time a person had a trauma in their body, it was like this little internal twist that would just make it tighter and tighter and tighter. And that's why people often get myofascial pain syndrome, where it moves around the body, because it's just these traumas, these energies trying to release out of the body, right? And then when you look into fibromyalgia, those are toxins, and they're sitting in those little spots that the lymph glands, when the lymph goes, okay, you know what, I'm not sure what you're doing here, I'm just going to shut her down until you figure it out. And I'm going to stop, because they're trying to open and close and open, and then they get stuck open, so they just literally stop, right? So it all piles up in toxic little, and we have a map of it. We can see exactly where it is on the body. And so when you're more sort of pH balanced, when your body's in more pain, when there's more inflammation, you're going to feel those spots worse. Your low back is going to, increase in pressure, and even according to the moon, right? I wish I could work on you. I'll work on you from afar. This is, this is about as close as I get. This is why I love doing this. It's like, oh, I think only probably most of the time, a lot of the time I'm talking with people that I work on, but today I only have, I think, one of you that I've been able to actually work on so far physically, and I miss doing it so much. So I'm glad to see you here, because this is a way that you can even do some stuff on your own for your body. So this solar plexus kind of gives us our boundaries, our safe space. We are holding all sorts of things. What we want to do is just kind of notice those emotions, notice those things that will get stuck in each place. And we try and move forward. We try and make these really good choices every day. We try and make sure we're just literally feeling our absolute best and trying our absolute best. But there are certain things that no matter how hard we try, there's those little parts of us that still, even if we want to be really healthy, we're still in the pantry at night, or those parts that really want to eat great but still like to lie on the couch and eat chips, or there's those parts that really love to work out but those parts that really don't. So what we're going to do tonight is kind of honor all of those parts of ourselves. There's even parts of ourselves that like to hang on to pain, because think about, if you didn't have that pain, there would be nothing stopping you. And we don't think about it that way, but it's like, oh, I never thought of that. Or I was treating a person the other day that sort of triggered this class, in that she didn't realize that the only time that she actually felt that she kind of was important to anyone in her family was if she was sick, because she always ended up smashing stuff, like not on purpose, but she would just break her body a lot, like really hurt herself, not intentionally. But that was like a time she'd get to stay home and, have that special attention from certain people. And she didn't realize that that was just a way that she kind of felt safe, and sometimes you need flowers, and she wasn't doing it intentionally, but there was people that really cared about her and showed her in ways only when she was sick. And so we recognized that. And so now she's realized that when she's healthier, they give her even more attention and better attention, because they're not put off by her complaining again. So it really made a big difference for her. It was kind of cool. So I mean, these are just the things that we are looking at, and we're going to go through a meditation, and I'm just going to ask you guys some questions in each area. And we're just going to literally move through anything that needs to come up in each area. We're going to allow it to clear. We're going to really make the decision to allow some of those things to shift, and really make the decision to live a life of true health and vitality, and really feel it today. And yeah, I think it'll be really, really fun. So I'm just going to kind of rip through the last few chakras that I'd kind of like to touch on, because the bigger ones on the bottom tend to take a little bit more time. So as we move up, we're talking about heart chakra. Now, this is a big one, because this is kind of like, now we sort of moved from family to others to self. Now, this is really loving, divine, loving yourself. This is basically like a whole area from under your breasts, all around your shoulders, kind of up around the neck. So this is your thymus gland. For you creators out there, for you intuitives, have you ever felt, it's funny, my throat chakra went different as I started talking about the heart. It's pushing something up. I'm just going to take a drink of my sparkly water. Hold on. That's so neat how that happens. There we go. So the high heart, I don't know if you guys have ever felt it's almost like your heart does a little skip. Sometimes if you're in the field with someone, or it's just almost like a little blip, like you kind of, it's not your heart, but it's actually your high heart. So that little energy center kind of opens up. So that's sort of where it combines with the throat chakra. So we've got like this beautiful aquamarine type color, but down here is all sort of nice and green. And of course, this is going to be the heart, but it's also going to be the lungs. It's going to be the ribs, the breast. And the one thing I didn't talk about with the solar plexus was the pancreas. And the pancreas is a big absorber for energy, for traumas, for things. So people will often have pancreatitis or, pancreatic cancer, these awful things that just progress super, super quickly, because they're so vascular and they're so connected to boundaries, huge boundaries. So when someone has never, sort of had those boundaries for themselves, or been able to set them and really struggle with, that's awesome, really struggle with boundaries, that's going to be all in the gut, and that's going to affect their gut, and their gut health is going to affect their pain and their inflammation. And so it's also connected, right? It's just so connected. Fascia work is amazing. Fascia work is like, melting the fly out of the ice cube, instead of actually trying to just poke it out and chip it out. It's just, that's where foam rollers come into play. So if you want to do some fascia work, get on a nice foam roller or a pool noodle, not one of those jaggedy ones, because those are just painful and those will make you hate foam rolling, but actually being on like a foam roller and just allowing your body to kind of melt over it, and then inch it up, and then, melt over it for a minute, and then inch it up. You can move it diagonally along your spine. You can move it down your legs. You can sit on it on a chair and just kind of rock on it, kind of sit on the side of your hip and torture yourself. It's just lovely, especially with the big blue foam rollers that you can sit on a chair. It feels rather torturous, but still quite good all at the same time. And your diaphragm, of course, right? Like the heart chakra is going to be a big one with breathing. So we're just going to go through that right away. So your strength, your balance, everything sort of comes in that heart chakra. A lot of times what I see when I'm massaging is that people have this left shoulder pain when I can tell someone, I'm like, did you just lose someone or did something pretty crazy go on? If I'd been seeing them monthly, I would know. They have this big wall built up, like it's just like this lump in their shoulder. And you guys probably know that spot. It's beside the shoulder blade. It's on the inside of it. You almost got to get like underneath it. Like if someone comes up and just goes, oh, it's like, oh, that spot, just get into that shoulder blade there. And that is where we kind of hold that grief and trauma. When we've had a broken heart, that will definitely take a real beating, and it holds like this river of tears. So once we acknowledge that, I'd have them generally bawling on the table because it was like the heart chakra just needed a little bit of a recognition, and then it was sort of good to go, and they would feel like it released the pain like they had never had. Like it literally would be gone for sometimes months until something else would sort of come around and traumatize it again, and that's where they would hold it. So that's, then we go into other stuff like using heat and all this kind of stuff, but I could just talk for hours about this, but that's where my that's where my class ends up going. So I'll just give you guys the business here. Okay. So then we're going to get into throat chakra. So you guys know throat chakra obviously is huge. It's kind of about being connected to your faith a little bit, feeling safe to just speak what you believe, not feeling like you can't say something. It's about action. It's going to affect the teeth, the gums. So, TMJ, if you have a sore jaw, if you end up having like, trouble in the thyroid gland, not the thymus gland, but the thyroid gland, lymph drainage, sore throat, strep throat all the time, that a person is vulnerable. Usually if it's a kid, they're not being heard, they're not, and we end up kind of going into things like that with kids too. It's quite amazing when you really start to listen to the body and see kind of what it says. Laryngitis, if they're prone to losing their voice all the time, all that kind of stuff. And then we get up into our third eye, our pineal gland kind of area, where we're kind of going into the purple colors, right? This is where we trust our intuition. This is where if maybe we're blocking ourselves, maybe we're kind of getting in our way, maybe we're not seeing things from the heart and we're seeing it from the head instead. This is really to sort of trust yourself. This is pituitary gland, pineal gland. So of course we're talking about Alzheimer's, all the things that are going to be affected by glands, hormones greatly, just because of all of the glands that are in here, your pituitary and everything. And the nervous system. This is one of the biggest ones that affects the nervous system. The nervous system, the eyes and the ears. So this is the one that we really have to sort of think about and focus on. If you, or even if you know anybody that has that help, have them wear those colors, have them, put on something green if they're having an asthma attack. Like there's all sorts of little things that you can help people with, especially if you are doing something like coaching, because once you sort of know that stuff, strokes and this kind of stuff are all that third eye. So sometimes having people sort of even start to do praying if they haven't done that before. This is something that can really sort of open that third eye up a little bit. If they have feelings of not being good enough or just, inadequate or not fitting in, this is also one that really it tells you to trust your emotional experience rather than anything else, because your gut really pretty much always knows. And then last but not least, we head up to the head. So when we look at pain in the head, the top of the body, generally what it is we're resisting our knowledge, resisting our faith in ourselves, resisting the action maybe that we're not supposed to be taking or that we are supposed to be taking by not listening to our bodies. So we look at the shoulders, the hands. If you look at, sometimes you look at women's hands that have been in that, like I look at our grandmothers, our great grandmothers, their hands are all just gnarly. And this is when they couldn't do their true purpose. They would have to often do things that they had to do. They didn't get to do what a lot of us get to do now. And when you can't be creative and you can't let it out, it gets trapped in the hands. And so for people that are angry, they'll often injure their middle finger, or it'll start to go numb, or they'll have weird things happen. For people that are keeping too many secrets, that'll be in the left hand and it's eating at them. That'll be in the in the little fingers. Like, it's really interesting. The ring fingers, it's often your heart that's connected to that. So I always looked at different fingers, and when we talked about what issues were going on with people, often the issue would be gone by the time they were done the treatment, even if I hardly massaged the finger, even if I just kind of went over it. We talked about sort of what was going on in the hands and the wrists. So and it's points of view, and it's being able to sort of allow that out. So that's all shoulder, that's all green stuff. Headaches will often be if people are being told that they have to sort of be on a different path. They feel like they're beating their head against the wall. And when you think about things in the body, pain in the neck, that's someone, shoulders are always carrying too much responsibility. I don't know how many times I said to my clients, if you're going to carry all that around, we're going to need some bigger shoulders, because this is not going to do, or, you're going to have to let some of this go, one or the other. But there's only so much we can do if we keep on taking on the world and keep on, not honoring ourselves. We often end up having pain in those areas still. So it's trying so greatly to tell us things that sometimes we don't listen to. So low back is more financial support, support just in feeling like you can kind of go your own way, like you can kind of do your own thing. Upper back is more the pain, the grief, and often it's the feeling like you're doing it alone, like the feeling that you have to carry the weight of the world. Pain in the ass is also something you could sort of get rid of, right? Headaches and migraines, they actually are your head aching. They're really trying to tell you that you're probably trying to go in a direction that you maybe should maybe look with both eyes at, instead of just one, or don't close one. And the sides of the head matter too, kind of depending on, some people get migraines on one side versus the other. So it's so much to go into. I don't want to overload you guys. I want to take you into a really nice meditation. Does anybody have any questions? Was there any parts that I missed that you have a question about that maybe I might be able to give more clarity on before we hop into meditation? I'll just make sure I got my chat up. Yeah, and after you do fascia work, it's pretty crazy if you don't drink enough water. And I would actually have like an Epsom salts bath, Jesse, if you have some Epsom salts around. I take about 2 cups, and I take about a quarter cup of baking soda. And if you have some of your oils around, put some of your frankincense in there. The hip, yeah. So the hip, there's interesting stuff in the hip. There's fear, there's anger, there's the actual hip itself is often being inflexible. So we look at sometimes the stubborn value of our lives, sometimes how we maybe looked at things, if it always kind of had to be one way, or if we were told that it always had to be one way, and now we're realizing that it isn't, and it's stifling us now to a point where we can no longer carry on, right? But a lot of that comes from literally from our roots. So say your hips are kind of the vulnerable part. We look at, why was that the vulnerable part? Why would hips have been the area that would end up sort of gathering that pain or being vulnerable to that pain, right? And so when you look at hips, you're looking essentially at feeling at home, having that that sort of regular family sort of environment to come home to. When you have really strong setups like that at home, for some, you can have that and you need that. For some, you didn't have it at all and you don't want it. There's a big spectrum when you look at something like the familial traits. And for some, what they wanted was maybe something that they weren't getting. So then there's things on top of that are going to kind of bring us into why we would hold it in that area necessarily. So this is all about beliefs you inherit from your family, emotional events that you would have inherited from family. It really goes a long way back into the family generations. And it's about you're a very honorable person usually. And when things go against your code of honor, that tends to kind of get stacked in the hips. So some fear and some anger can kind of get stuck in there. Some of the other ones I didn't mention are a lot of trauma and grief sort of get held in this sort of heart, solar plexus area as well. So for people with lung issues and things like that, there's often a lot of grief and trauma that's still settled in there that needs to kind of come up. So this is going to be a little deep, we're going to go in, and I think Kim had to pop off for her meeting at 7:30. So I'll have to send her the replay for this. And I'll take you guys just on a little journey if you're up for it. We're not going to do any kind of recode or anything. We're just going to literally go into a bit of a body and breath healing meditation where we just allow our bodies to speak to us, and we're just going to ask our bodies a few questions. Are you guys ready for this? Yeah?
Yes.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. This is great. Okay. So what I want you to do is basically just get as comfortable as you can. And if you already have, oh, that's awesome. My emerald root. Yes, I love my green in here. It's actually a color that my daughter picked for her bedroom. She has this in like bright yellow. She's so cool. My other kid has like turquoise or teal and bright orange. And they even wanted it to go like cross or diagonal across the ceiling. So my husband even did that for them. For their birthdays every 5 years, they get to pick out how they sort of want their rooms.
I wonder where they got that from.
Right. Our whole house is
so bright and beautiful, Jackie.
Oh, so are you, Nikki. I love having your energy here. I'm so happy to see you guys, honestly.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, this is wonderful. I'll have to take you guys into different rooms of my house. Actually, it's really funny. If you look at this wall, it's actually bright blue. And upstairs, I've got red and green. My dining room is called Wasabi. It's we love color. Oh, it's too funny.
Oh, that's so good. That's brilliant.
All right, my loves. So we are going to just literally allow ourselves to connect with our bodies for just a minute. And I want you guys to just imagine that you are in a wide open field that just has flowers in it. And it's just got all sorts of colors of flowers. It's got really beautiful, sparkling white flowers. And I want you to just take a few nice deep breaths as I'm just building this little world. And when you're taking your breaths, I want you to connect with your breath and really imagine that your belly is sort of expanding like a beach ball when you're breathing in, and you're breathing in through your nose. And when you're breathing out, you're deflating that beach ball, and you're breathing out through your mouth a little longer than you breathed in. And I want you to just sort of get friendly with breathing in and focusing on that belly, and breathing out a little longer than you were breathing in. I like to imagine counting when I'm breathing in for about a count of 4 to 6. And then as I'm breathing out, I'll count maybe 6 to 8, even if I can. And I really try and deflate that diaphragm and let out all that stale air that may have gotten twisted up in there. And I want you to imagine that in this field, there's this little bed, this little maybe hammock or cushioned area. It's just this nice little soft cloud looking little blanketed area that is really welcoming. And I want you to just imagine yourself going over to this area in this big field of flowers with all these colors around. And just sitting or lying down, being very comfortable, feeling your body start to relax as soon as you touch this bed. And just allowing yourself to notice your breath. And as you're lying there, I want you to just focus on your breath for just a few moments. You can breathe naturally now, just allowing the breath to move in and out of your body as it naturally would go. And I want you to just imagine that all your muscles are allowed to start relaxing. And we're going to picture a light, almost like a sunbeam, coming up through your feet and out of your feet almost at the same time. It's so bright, it's like it repels and sinks in all at the same time. I want you to just imagine that white light touching your feet. It feels very warm, feels very comforting, almost like someone's massaging them, giving them the attention that they need, giving them the affection that they need. And I want you to think for just a moment about your path as you're just lying in these flowers in this bed. Smell some of those flowers. What would they smell like right now? And what would it sound like in this field? If you were to touch one of those flowers, what would it feel like in your fingers? And I want you to just imagine this white light starting to bathe your feet and moving up. Just noticing what you're noticing about your feet. What would your feet say to you? Look at how far those feet have walked. Look how many steps those feet have taken. I want you to imagine yourself walking. Do you walk with your left foot first or your right? When we walk with our left foot forward, we're often walking with God, walking our spiritual path. The right is sometimes bullying, pushing our way through, not maybe depending on the source that we have. And I want you to let that light move up into your knees. And looking how flexible you are with your path. Do you like to have things a certain way? If you were to ask your knees what they had to say, what would they tell you? Just allow those thoughts. It's not about thinking, it's not about knowing, it's just about listening. What would those knees say to you? Would they say, be taking it easy, get me a brace? Do you ice me or put oils on me once in a while? What are your knees saying right now? Your knees saying, I need to move more, stretch more, I need to learn nerve flossing or yoga, something. What do your knees tell you on a daily basis? Are one of them weaker than the other? Do you seem to have a stronger leg than the other? We're just going to allow all of these energy centers to release anything that isn't working anymore, that's maybe not keeping us on our path. We don't even need to know what it is. We're actually going to allow some cords to just sort of be cut from these energy centers because they're being drained. They're being drained a lot from paths that we used to walk, and people still expecting those things. It's like walking in mud sometimes, and we're just going to cut some of those cords. We'll even have Archangel Michael come in just to help us just turn them into bright light as we just dissolve some of those coming from the feet and into the knees. You don't need to know what they are. They're just sort of draining. I just want you to feel that light start to move up into your thighs as all those muscles start relaxing, and notice your pelvis start to relax. And I want you to literally relax those muscles in that pelvic floor, literally looking at what you're sitting on and grounding with your tailbone, grounding right into the bed, right down into the earth, right down, and just allowing anything to sort of be drawn out into those roots, just letting it go back into the earth. And I want you to just imagine now that there's a red light that's coming in. It's a nice healing light, and it's going to come in through the hips. Was there people that had a lot of authority over you before? People you've given your power away to unintentionally? Your hips are where we hold what your children are going to learn from you. We hold fears. We hold our old relationships in our hips. Sometimes that can keep us back from getting new ones. And while you're in your hips, I just want you to notice anyone that's popping up, anything that may be popping up. And just notice that it's a very safe place. And as it pops up, the light actually helps it to just dissolve. And just allow those roots to keep you grounded in this safe space. We're just creating less pain. And I want you to actually have your body recognize that you are allowing anything that was sitting in here to literally be transmuted. And just allowing that to happen, allowing all those family generational ties that have kept us from being able to just jump forward, just no more belts around our waist, no more ropes around us, no more holding us back from anything. Just allowing all of that to shift and transmute as it needs to. Letting that red light help to just heal that area. Anything that feels dark, any cords that were there, allowing those to simply just be let go. And as you do, they just dissolve. And we're going to bring that red color up into a bit of a rusty orange, moving into that sacrum, into that tailbone, into that strong spine. I want you to just feel that orange color starting to sort of absorb into your low back. That orange light is just going to give any of those personalities, those little parts in us, a hug. Those ones that had to come out and be strong and do everything. Those ones that had to still be of influence, even though they were hurting inside. And just allowing some of those to move through that whole sacral plexus. Anything in the low back, feeling those muscles actually relax. Feeling the top, the glute med muscles in your butt let go. Feeling it just relax more and more as you're picturing yourself in your bed in the middle of the field of flowers. It's nothing but you in there. And I want you to just feel that orange color just moving through your low back, moving through your stomach. All of the areas in the front of the stomach, all the pelvic disorders, all of the traumas that have happened. moving through the appendix and the hips and the bladder, moving through the sciatic nerves, any urinary problems or prostate, just allowing all of those to literally shift right now. Any betrayals, financial losses, all of that money stuff is just floating around in there. All your decision making, all your parts that are your rebels are all down there. Creativity can be really blocked in this area. And I want you to just imagine for a moment that you kept to your word all of the time. No negotiations, you followed through. And you become the force in your life. And as you do, you notice that the light is turning to a yellow and it's moving up into your solar plexus, into your stomach area, into your guts, moving through your colon, just balancing what it needs to balance, getting the adrenal glands, getting that pancreas and your kidneys. This is where all your honor is to yourself, for yourself, with yourself. So if we don't honor ourselves, this area can end up really having some trouble. It tries to talk to you. Arthritis will come from here. Anorexia, bulimia, liver, any kind of adrenal dysfunctions, all of those, they're all from this area. We're just going to allow that yellow light to just touch on any of those, almost like a sun. I want you to feel it just healing you from the inside. Your self-esteem, your self-confidence, your self-respect, your ambition, your courage. How do you feel if you're criticized? How do you feel when you're criticizing yourself? Are you critical of others? Maybe we just need approval of others. Ask yourself why and allow that light to just move through your body, turning into a beautiful green as it climbs up into that heart chakra, into the chest, into the shoulders, just allowing that green light to just fill that whole upper body, right down to each finger, your armpits, your diaphragm, and just connect with your breath again, taking that breath and just noticing if there's anything that's still painful below the chest, below the stomach and the hips. I want you to just take a moment and direct your breath to that area. Just noticing your breath as it goes in, that it can actually be directed right to that area of pain. If you need to, you can even put your hands over that area. Your body may be directing you to even do that right now. Maybe your knees need to be touched, giving them a little bit of extra energy and just allowing that to happen. And as we move up into the chest, we have forgiveness. Love, grief, anger, loneliness, betrayal, compassion, hope, trust. Maybe there's some emotions that are left in this heart that just kind of need to heal. Maybe there's some emotions, some relationships, some wounds. Is there any fears of being completely emotionally healthy? This heart center allows you to really forgive yourself, and allow this pain to be released from your body. And just notice that you're now telling yourself that you're ready to allow whatever's safe to be grounded back into the earth, and just replacing it with that light. Watching that light almost turn up a little bit. I can feel my ears almost wanting to pop now with all this light filling up into this blue, into that throat chakra where maybe we haven't been speaking our truths. Maybe we've been afraid to. Maybe we were always told we couldn't. And so we just stopped. Our actions and our choices live in our throat. This is where we need to discern between strong will and putting up walls to stop ourselves. Do you see anybody or anything having control over your own willpower? Do you have any fears about divine guidance, about how powerful you are? And I want you to take this moment to look at one way that you stop yourself from taking action. We just postpone it. We think of reasons that we can't do it. And as we allow that blue light just to turn into more of a night sky, into a deep purple, we're going to allow the nice purple light to just be moving up to our third eye. So imagine across the bridge of your nose right now, feeling that pressure of the purple light just starting to actually work its magic and do some healing in there, unscramble that pineal gland, that pituitary gland, those pressures where you just feel like you need to just squeeze your head and make it all go away. We're just allowing that pressure and that light to just move through your whole forehead, your nose, your ears. So this is where we want to trust our brain. We want to trust our heart. We want to trust what we really know. We want to trust our truth. These are where some negative patterns can be stuck. This is where we know the things aren't true that we think are stopping us. This is where we know our truth and we start to see our truth. This is about coming to terms with who you really are and allowing your full expression of yourself. Judgments keep on popping up for me here. So if we tend to be thinking we're not judgy, but we may be judgy, we might want to just look at that. And if we're not judging other people, I feel like we're judging ourselves. And I want us to just allow feeling that. Now, when we get up to the crown, this is all of our muscles and all of our skeletal system and anything that we're holding physically. And it's where we need to look at the divine a little bit. Are we praying? Have we forgotten to pray? Have we been connected to our field, but maybe still not listening? This is that knowledge that we know, that we've given, but now we can see in a different light. And when we allow that to happen, the pressure valve in the top of the head can simply be released, just like an Instapot. I want you to imagine that pressure just releasing from the top of your head. This is where our insight comes in. And I want you to just imagine now this bright white light at the top of your head and at the bottom of your feet. And it makes this beautiful ring around you of light that you're just glowing from. And I want you to just ask yourself to simply allow the process of releasing anything else from your energy centers, anything else from your body that just may need releasing right now. And we're just going to lovingly call from the light, from our ancestors, from all the wisdoms today, to just help heal any of this trauma in the body, creating this beautiful safe space for all these parts to be able to connect in all directions of time and space, and just allow yourself to feel light in that bed of flowers, to take another nice deep breath, connecting to any other part of your body that may still be talking to you. And I just want to give you a moment to just connect with your body, going through the white light at the top of the head. This light is just going to sort of plunge and push anything else out of the body that is ready to just go back to the earth, through those roots, through your tailbone, through your solar plexus, through your feet. And this light is just going to fill you up even more, just turning up those notches. There we go. That white light is just beaming through your head, through your feet. There you go. And allow that purple color to just bask your forehead. And moving that purple, that healing light down. When you're ready, just allowing anything else to move through. And just allowing that blue color to start taking over. Opening up the jaw, opening up the throat. Balancing it all out. Clearing and transmuting anything that needs to be cleared. Just feel yourself filling full of light and moving down into the green coloration into your chest. Allow your body to release that however it needs to, whether it's moving, breathing, connecting into your body, just being connected to it, just literally allowing it to release this and let go. It's beautiful. And we're just going to lovingly command all of our energy centers to just go back to the sizes that they're supposed to be. And just go back to those beautiful colors that they're supposed to be. There we go. We're just going to ask that those energy centers move towards their normal flow of just the greatest amount of satisfaction. And we're going to just choose right now to live a healthy and vital life, to really embrace a healthy and vital body. And I want us to just feel that for a moment. Looking at you with your energy centers balanced, noticing what your body looks like, feeling what you feel like, feeling like you actually have a different form right now, where things aren't taking up space where they don't need to be taking space, and things aren't causing pain. Sometimes there's an area that starts to hurt more. I want you to listen to that right now. I want you to just feel what it feels like to live a life where you're making choices to just feed this healthy body and give this healthy structure what it needs. It's this vessel that's carrying you through, and it shows what you've been through. Now that you're letting this go, what does it feel like? What do you know you need to do? What are those things that we need to allow ourselves to move through and to heal through? Is there something that could help us move through that pain? Do we need some body work? Do we need some energy work? We can tune into our bodies every single day and allow these lights to just move through us, and allow that green to just cover your shoulders and your arms, every little finger. We just needed some time in that heart chakra. And in through the stomach, that solar plexus, mine is growling right now. Just relaxing all those muscles. Connecting to your breath, allowing your pelvic muscles to again relax. Maybe they tightened again. Noticing any pain in your body. Just asking it to speak to you. Now you know what all these areas are saying. What is your pain saying to you? Is there lack of support from home across the middle back that's someone's feeling right now? I want you to just send your breath there. We're going to take a few breaths where we breathe out a little longer again, and I want you guys to just keep breathing as you imagine the yellow light just coming from your solar plexus, where you're going to start making all of these healthy boundary decisions. Even with yourself, don't let yourself treat yourself like that. You're a better friend than that. I want you to just listen to yourself and allow your gut, allow that whole solar plexus to just light up like a big fireball, like a big sunshine. So much so that it spreads the orange rusty light down into your sacral plexus. Just basking that whole low back in light and energy and love. I'm just asking it to balance and to flow, and into those hips and that pelvis and legs. Thinking about how flexible we are. Thinking about what we could do to be getting on our path, on our real path. Just feeling that light and that love and that energy from Source just moving through you right now. Just allowing anything else that needs to shift to shift. Ask your body if there's anything else it's been trying to tell you for a long time. Maybe even since you were a kid, you've had this thing. I want you to just allow yourself to connect with your breath in your body, allowing your breath to go to those different parts and just listen. We're going to ground all these memories in this safe container. And we're going to allow our roots through the ground to keep us anchored in, moving forward as an unshakable anchor and taking care of ourselves and honoring ourselves. We only have ourselves. And our body tries desperately to tell us things. We choose so often not to listen. When we tune into our breath and we breathe through our diaphragm like this, we're telling ourselves that we're listening. We're honoring ourselves. And now creating action to honor ourselves and completing something. If we need to follow through on something, we need to retrain our brain that we are that person, that we're going to keep doing it. And I want you guys to just, when you're ready, come on back, just take a couple of deep breaths and just let me know how you're doing, or feel free to just stay in that space where there's a lot of things still shifting. Felt there's still a lot of releasing to be happening here tonight, even overnight. It's a new moon. It's a beautiful time to be able to just allow things to sort of shift how they need to and make that choice, hey? Oh, how are you guys doing? How are you doing, Nikki? I can see you, so I'll pick on you for a quick minute.
Wow, Jackie. Wow. It was a like body experience for me. It was so magic.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, you
I
should.
love it.
Oh,
See your
it's so soothing, and oh, it's beautiful.
You're so sweet.
Thank you.
I'm so grateful that you guys were here. I know people had to hop off, so once I've recorded it, I'll make sure I post it so you guys can make sure you get a copy so you can do it whenever you feel the need.
That would be so kind. That would be so kind. So you would remember me.
Of course, yes. I know. I think I sent you one other one, so hopefully you got it that way. No? Okay, I'll make sure. I saw.
You have you can just message me. I don't know how
Oh, it was another Nikki. Yes, you're right, Nikki. Yes. I'll make sure I've got you on there.
Request, because I couldn't, but this time when I had the opportunity, I thought, oh my goodness.
Oh, I love that you were able to hop on. It's so good.
Well,
so good. So it'll be fun tonight. See if you can have a look at your knees and
yes,
see what they, oh yes, okay, I have you on there. Perfect. See what they look like, see what your kneecaps look like, and see what
I'm very, very excited.
Yeah, because it talks about, just like you face things head on, or you might kind of go inwards or outwards, or expressing yourself is sometimes in that kneecap. And yeah, so it's lovely. Did anyone else want to share before I let you guys go? Do some like cleansing. That Epsom salts bath would probably be wonderful for anybody on tonight, to just kind of do a bit of a detox. I'm all about I use my oils for everything, so they always go in my bath. But anything grounding, like roots, cedar wood, vetiver, anything that's grown in the ground, like that'll be really awesome. Or trees like frankincense. So it's just beautiful.
Awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, more about the knees. I know if you guys have to go, by all means, feel free to hop off, because I have kept you forever. I'm going to give a little bit more about the knees. So when we have issues in our right knee, it tends to be sort of that you're inflexible, and if you don't have knowledge of your outcome, so you're not one to sort of maybe go just take chances and just go and invest with you know, someone that you didn't know, but or if your knee chakra is really an issue, you might take huge chances like that and not trust yourself. And so the right knee can be very physical. It talks about a lot about are you going too fast or too slow? That will be if you're in the knee chakra there in the right knee. That'll be sort of like your it'll be very apparent if you know you need to be doing things and you're not. Your right knee will kind of act up on you. So it's kind of like the action one as well. And sometimes it's, you know, you have to look at, should I be on a different course? Should I be on a different path? Am I on the path I want? Sometimes when we're not on that right path. Yeah. And then there's the traumas, right? But it's always like, so why was that part the vulnerable part? So when you were hurt, it's interesting. When you were hurt, I like that's beautiful. I was going to go into more of the flowers too, but those white ones were just so pure. It was just so gorgeous. When we have a trauma in an area, that can tell us a lot about when we get that trauma. So when you were skiing, look at the path that you were on, right? Was it a bit of a look at yourself? Because, you know, when you bugger up your knee, it's hard to do much, right? It definitely does talk to us. If it's the left knee, it's more the spiritual stuff, or the it sort of talks with the knee. It talks to you more about leading with your spiritual path, kind of like that left foot, right foot thing. Notice how you step. Do you step more on your left foot than your right foot? Are you holding on to or around people that are really negative? Those will sit in your left knee. You know, negativity, those emotions that we don't want, those will kind of hang out in the left knee. If that makes sense. It's kind of like your intuitive side, your natural side, whereas the right side is kind of like the doing. You might be doing too much. You might have literally blown out your knee doing something. Yeah. And then the kneecap itself is it kind of indicates the sort of pain that you have. Like a lot of people have pain just in the kneecap rather than the inside or the outside. And that's generally, if it's the inside or the outside of the knee, I know they have a balance issue in their life. Whereas if it's the front of the knee, it's usually they are just heading straight on into things and maybe a little bit too much, depending on if it's pain or if it's restricted, or if they've had too much movement or they blow a ligament. You know, it's very like our body is very in tune with what.
Wow.
Yeah.
So cool.
It is.
So
it's so
cool.
It's so cool.
And your hairs are lit.
I
mean, literally on fire. I love it. It's my favorite color.
That's so cute. I do. It's just, I just have to have a little fire in there, you know?
Yeah, I'm telling you, hot.
It's all about color.
Loving it. Just love it.
You guys are so awesome. How about anybody else? Did you want to share before I shut down? Jessie, absolutely. Go right ahead. Unmute yourself and chat, love. Oh, can I? Oh, there we go. Ask you to unmute.
Yes. Okay.
There we go.
Thanks. That was absolutely awesome. Thank you.
Good.
Yeah, I'll sew out to it. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But last week, did you post last week's link?
You know what? I posted it in my group, and I don't think I posted it to you guys separately. So I'll make sure I do. I'm just writing it down to make sure.
I've joined your group, Jackie. So do we just go to your group? We go to your group.
Awesome.
I did. Yes, I did.
Yes, excellent. Yes, it will be in there. I end up having all of my replays in there pretty much. So you can, yeah, you can go through and there's like months worth of replays in there. So you can check that out anytime.
How do you join your group, Jackie?
I have it's kind of like my paid group. So some of my clients that are here tonight are here as part, but this is like my free webinar. So I do this for everybody kind of thing. So I do coaching calls, and then I teach a few other times during the week on Tuesdays and Wednesdays with different subjects. So I put all of my webinars and stuff in there. And then I have a group coaching that I do in the mornings on Mondays and Wednesdays. And so it's basically it's like an $88 fee per month kind of thing that people generally pay, and then they get the link. And I have 2 rooms. I have a recode room that has a few other coaches as well, so you get access to all of theirs, and then you get access to all of mine at any time as well. So and I had at the beginning, I had for coaches, I had just kind of had them in at my group to start, so I didn't sort of go back and charge them. But because you don't need the masterclass or anything like that, I can always work out a little bit of a deal with you, and you could just have it for a couple months and binge watch all you want if you want. But I didn't ever, it's funny, I didn't tell people a lot of times about my group because, I always felt bad charging them, but then so many people were approaching me just to be able to have access to that stuff. And with my group coaching clients, I wanted them to have access to them all too. I just really wasn't tech savvy. So I kind of got it all together so that I could support people as best that I can. And in any way. So it's been really nice to be able to actually have that and just sort of offer it. And then I have my, my free group where we can do my Fridays and my I can just post things daily kind of thing as well. So people still get, what they need at that time. But yeah, so that's basically how you get in there. So I can send you the link for it. And then once people ask to sign up, I usually just send them a invoice kind of a thing, and then they get access for the 30 days, and then they can literally binge watch all they want. You could probably,
because I'm pretty sure that because my thing has been chocolate, like everything else is pretty okay, but I'm pretty sure that there was a couple of days last week that didn't, and I thought that you were going to post it. So but anyway, it's been busy with the floods and stuff. So
no, I'll make sure. Message me too if there's anything that you want that you don't have, because usually I just end up private messaging you the classes. So if I didn't send a link to something, I was gonna definitely let me know, and I'll make sure I do that. Yeah, definitely. That is no problem.
Thank you. It's so great.
Oh, you're so welcome. I love it. I'm loving what I'm doing. Yeah, I'm going to finish this course for therapists and coaches too. And I'm really excited to actually finally sort of put it all out there so that people can do like the energy clearing. They have all that information, and they can actually start to incorporate the recode into it as well when they are ready to do that too. So it's because a lot of people wanted to learn the recode, they really want to learn that recode and learn how to do it with what they've already been doing. And it can combine into so many professions so well. Hey, it's just, I just love this work. I just love being able to do so much. Yes, it's so true. All of the people out here, thank you. You guys are awesome. I love it. Oh, excellent. It's funny. I got all this stuff moving in my body. I'm ready to, usually I start sneezing out, but now I didn't do a recode. That's why I'm like, why am I not sneezing? It's just bubbling up in here instead, just releasing. It's awesome. So get some water tonight, you guys, and definitely do some self-care. And I love you so much. Mwah. Thank you so much for making the time tonight. I look forward to chatting with you again. You're so welcome. It was awesome. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. So awesome.
Have a great night. Thanks for sharing too. I really appreciate that.